And all right, welcome everyone to the Reiki Skills Lodge, first one of the new autumn season after the little summer break. And we're starting with something quite simple and easy today, although we're really gonna talk around it in different ways that we can use it. We're going to be working with charging inanimate objects, and this is suitable for Reiki 1 and above, so any Reiki person can do this, and we don't spend a lot of time talking about how to use Reiki in this way when we start our training, which is right. We should be focusing on meditating and learning to channel the energy. We are going to work with a combination of things. There is, to my knowledge, one traditional Japanese way of charging objects. So we're going to be looking at that and working with that. But it's really intended to cleanse and purify the object, and enhance is the term. So it's sort of to make it, I don't know, a purer, better version of what it is. So we're going to talk around that and we're going to use it, but we're also then going to go into some more Western Reiki ideas, and just general kind of healing, spiritual ideas in terms of programming those objects so they can be used for specific things. And although it's quite a simple thing, putting Reiki into an object, the question is, like, what's the point? Like, why would you do it? What would you use it for? What's the specific questions for us to put in place so that we can use it to make them really powerful? So that's kind of like the bulk of what we're going to be doing. And I always think it's good when we come together to use these skills for stuff that we need. So we're going to work with a little bit of frequency setting, which some of you have done before. But even if you haven't, it's very simple. I'm just going to guide us through like a basic version of it, and we're going to use that to charge our objects that we've got today on the call, or for all of you that are watching afterwards, to charge the object with exactly the healing that you need now. This is being recorded on the 8th of September, and we are doing it therefore right on the back of a full moon eclipse. Lots of big shifts. I had a couple of healing groups yesterday. They were very, very powerful. So I'm advocating for gentle Reiki healing for all of us to integrate the big shiftiness that's going on at the moment. And to that end, and because it's a slightly simpler way of working than we sometimes do on these, when we're breathing certain ways and visualizing and drawing symbols, it gives us a tiny bit of extra time. So I'd really like to start with just a really simple self-healing exercise for all of us. We don't that often get to come together as a group and do Reiki, and I really think that it's just more powerful for working as a group. So we're just gonna take this opportunity to just do a little 10-minute healing ceremony, as it were. Very, very simple. And for this, you can lie down if you are so inclined, or you can sit up or stand or just recline. We are going to be working just with two simple self-treatment positions. One hand on the center of the chest, on the heart center, and one hand on the solar plexus. And I'm just going to talk us through a nice little healing. So if you want to lie down and wrap yourself in a blanket, I'll try and call you back insistently. But you can do this one just by resting in your chair, or even standing up if that feels important for the energy flow. But we're going to be quite gentle with the healing to get started. And I'd like you to take a moment just to set an intention that the healing that we're going to do in this little 10-minute group session is to bring in exactly what you need in this moment. And feel yourself in a very gentle healing circle. feel that circle being set up around you. Know that you're being held within a safe Reiki space. Those of us here in the UK are coming in at the end of a Monday. Those of us in the States in the middle of your day. Just allow what's going on outside of this circle to drop away. Take a couple of deep breaths and just breathe into your body and be present. Take a moment to connect in with the Reiki source. You can do that simply by intending or bringing your hands into prayer position or raising your hands above your head. Allow the Reiki to flow down from above. So that you can feel that connection in your tanden. Just beneath and behind the belly button, that abdominal energy center, connecting us in with the Reiki source. Placing one hand over your heart center and another hand over your solar plexus, just under your rib cage. Visualize Reiki flooding out through your hands. You're a channel for the Reiki source energy. Letting Reiki flood out through one hand into your heart center, through the other hand into your solar plexus. Yourself this time to nourish your body with what you need. Allow your body to relax. No tension in the shoulders, the arms or the hands. Resting into those hand positions. Heart center and your solar plexus energy center to receive that energy and let it flow to wherever it needs to go. This might be energetic healing, emotional healing, or it may flood into an area of the body that needs physical assistance. Keep the flow going, feel the Reiki in your hands. And just staying in that position, one hand resting on your heart center, one hand resting on your solar plexus, Reiki energy flowing out through both hands, flooding into your body, into your energy body, just letting that energy flow. Flooding energy not just into your heart center and your solar plexus, but letting it flow through your whole body. Letting it rise up through your head, letting it flow all the way down to your feet. Held in a circle of Reiki light. With others meditating with you, amplifying the effect. Let yourself have this time to bathe your whole body in Reiki healing. Using your intention now to see a seal like a blanket wrapped around your whole body, not so protective as a shield, but something that just seals that energy into your body at this time. Letting the Reiki flow from your hands, slow and then stop. Taking a moment to seal over your energy body, and you might want to use your hands spreading around your body to do this. You may want to smooth your hands over your arms, your legs. Press onto your shoulders. Coming back into prayer position. restating your intention that this healing is for your highest good in this moment. In your own time, taking a couple of deep breaths, breathing yourself back into your body, breathing yourself back into this space, into this Zoom call, into this workshop. It's a beautiful, nourishing way to begin our time together today. Taking your time to come back. Grounding, centering yourself in your body. Feeling yourself present, centered, calmer than we were. Just coming back from that little healing beginning. Getting ourselves in the best possible position to do our work, charging our inanimate objects. How's everyone doing? Don't yawn, Nan. Don't go to sleep. I know, it's like, ooh, hi Jennifer, welcome. It's so lovely to see you again. Oh, my lovelies, I just really wanted to start with just a dropping into our body, giving ourselves a good nourishing healing after that big old moon. Make sure you've got some water handy. But now, as promised, some Reiki skills. I feel like I feel all cozy now. We are doing some work charging our inanimate objects, and it's something that's really simple to do with Reiki. But as I said, not something we tend to spend a lot of time thinking about, because we're learning how to channel the energy for ourselves, do our meditations, our visualizations, learn all of our symbols, and of course working on other people. But it's actually something that can be really useful, either for your own work or for your space. Whether it's space that you're doing Reiki or other healing work in, or if it's just your space that you're spending your time in. It's also something that's really useful for working with your clients. I have a student who does, when she does distance healing on people, I don't think she does this for everybody, but for people that she knows personally, she will charge up a crystal and then send it to them or give it to them. And so then they've got something that they can hold, and it sort of carries on the healing for them. It gives them sort of an active part of it, makes them feel more connected to it, which is really nice to do. We can also use it for healing sessions in person. Sometimes I'll use an object in the work that I give someone to take away with them. So I'll set that up in a particular way, and we'll talk about different ways to set them up. And sometimes we work with particular tools when we're doing healing work for ourselves or for other people, or just to meditate with, so we can have those charged up ready before we use them, so they're in the perfect state to use for doing the healing work for others. One of the things we're going to talk about as well is using them to hold space in a particular way. These are objects we can effectively set them up to work for us in a particular space, and we can program them to have triggers so that that energy will then be amplified or released at a particular time. So you can set up effectively what the lock and key mechanism is for that. And that is not traditional Japanese Reiki, by the way, but it's definitely worth doing that so that you can be really precise. So much of the work that we do doesn't allow us to be precise, right? Because we're in the flow. It's not for us to say, I'm going in to take away this pain or this illness or whatever. We're not interfering in a way we have to be working for the highest good. Maybe something needs to move through the body or bring a particular awareness to people. So we're trying not to be too limited in our thinking. But when we're working with objects, rather than being open to anything that can happen, which we really need to do if we're going to be great energy healers, we need to be very precise in how we hold ourselves and, you know, the way that we're speaking to our clients. But when the energy flows, we got to trust that source energy knows what it's doing, right? So, you know, we use the symbols that it feels right to use. We work on areas where we're guided to go, which are not necessarily the areas where our client will have said to us, well, this is what hurts, because there can be referred pain in the body. That's a really simple example. Somebody says, you know, I've got this pain in my shoulders, that might be referred pain from a misalignment in the hip or something like that. So we go with our guidance in that sense. But when we're working with objects, I think precision, very specific instruction is key to allow for the best outcome. So there is a Japanese generally don't tend to be into sort of working with crystals in particular. A lot of people are bringing crystals, and a lot of people are bringing jewelry. Those were the two most common things that people said that they were bringing, and they're the most common things that I use it for. High fives to you again, Kat, for bringing a whole drum. Yes. Love your thinking. All of my tools are like looking at me going, why haven't I been charged in this way? But generally speaking, people would tend to use this for crystals. And in Japanese healing traditions, there isn't a lot of crystal healing. It's not really part of the system in a big way. But there is one Japanese technique that I know of. Prepare for some butchering of the Japanese language, everybody. It's called Jakikiri Joka Ho. Jakikiri Joka Ho. And that is a method for energetically cleansing and enhancing inanimate objects. Okay, so specifically, this is only in one sense half of the equation, because there's no actual programming of the crystal or whatever the object is in this particular technique. And in Western Reiki, we tend to talk about programming. So I'll go into that in a minute, but let's stick with the Japanese to get started. I'm, as usual, getting this from my beloved The Reiki Source Book by Bronwyn and Franz Stein. I really recommend this book for, there's a whole section of Japanese techniques, a whole section of Western techniques. Jakikiri Joka Ho is a traditional technique, and the translation is this. Jaki means bad or negative. Kiri means cut. Joka means purification or cleansing. And Ho, as you know, means method, right? So this is taught in some of the Japanese Reiki Ryoho Gakkais, and it's taught to Shoden, Reiki 1 and above. So it's a very simple technique. And this is the way that it works. You take your shiny, we're just going to talk through it, but we will do it afterwards. Look at my crystal. I'm so fancy. It's nice, isn't it? So you get your fancy crystal or whatever the object is, and you sit or stand and gasho first of all before you pick up your fancy event. Okay, sorry, I skipped ahead. We set our intention first. We set our intention, hold the object in your non-dominant hand. Then you place your dominant hand over the whatever the item is, just a few centimeters away. And you just chop 3 times in the air above the object. So this is really a sort of cleansing. They say cleansing and enhancing, right? So this is how we begin. You focus your attention on your tanden as you do this, as a Japanese technique, and then you chop 3 times over the object. And that seals the energy in. So you're focusing Get into your gasho, set your intention, take your object, and you hold your hands this way, and then focusing on the tanden, chop 3 times to seal the energy in. It's a sweet little, I always appreciate that they give you the information of the translation so you can see. The focus on that is about cutting away what's not helpful. And it's a really good way to start, and it is a traditional way to do it. And I actually like the sealing the energy in method for the end of a proper like charging up process. But what it's really about is cleansing, right? And it's a simple Japanese way to do it. And we're operating from the tanden as we do it for that discipline, for that focus of how the energy is being used. But what it doesn't go into is why. What are we enhancing? What are we sealing in? We set an intention and we did that. There's no actual charging of the object. And it's really the only way that I've found to be working with crystals from a traditional Japanese Reiki point of view. And, you know, I find it a little bit limited. I like the focus. I like the way of holding it. I like the discipline of pulling into the tanden to do it. And that chopping technique 3 times, and I usually like with the breath as I do it. It's really powerful. It really works. So of course I've been experimenting with it. Of course I have. And what I've found is that to do that at the beginning as your cleansing method, and then to move on a little bit from it. So technically we're not doing jakakiri jakaho anymore. We're into sort of a more Western technique of programming an object to charge it up, to allow the Reiki to flow into it. And then at the end of that practice to again come back into your tanden, set your intention again, restate your intention. And again, that chopping 3 times. So we're cutting away anything that's extraneous, any wandering thoughts that might have come in, anything like that, and seal in that energy in that really powerful way. So I am, of course, massively deviating from the original intention. But if you just want to cleanse something, so if you were to buy a new piece of jewelry, or have a new crystal and put it out, but you're not actively working with it yet, then just doing that is all you need to do to cleanse it and for it to be ready to go. There are loads of other ways to cleanse crystals or jewelry or objects or anything like that. I like smudging, as you know. I don't believe that was ever being done in Japan. Certainly I don't think it's part of Reiki. But you can burn sage or Palo Santo or any of those things to do like a proper cleanse first of all. They do say that you shouldn't breathe onto sage smoke or smudge smoke of any kind, because then you're putting your own stuff on it. But remember that Reiki technique, kokiho, which is sending Reiki with the breath. So if you stay connected and stay in your tanden, you can blow Reiki through smudge smoke. Just, you know, again, this is it's a different technique, but these are ways that we can cleanse and work with objects. So whenever I use smudge smoke, particularly when I'm sort of working over a client that I'm working on, I normally will blow the energy, especially if they're lying down, will blow the energy across. And no, it's not just because I've many times waved the smudge stick over and dropped little flaming balls of fire onto my clients. That's hardly ever happened, like just very few times. And so I try and work with the breath. I find that it stops me from going quite so far over the person's body, and blowing that Reiki into it sort of helps me blow my intention. So I can do that over clients, but you can also do it, and it's much more effective to blow Reiki through the smoke into something that you're actually holding. It's much easier to do. So I recommend that as a cleansing technique as well. In Western Reiki and in just sort of general New Aginess, we talk about charging or programming crystals, or any objects. Tends to be crystals, but any object can be used like this. And there's massive power in this. So the charging of it, the cleansing needs to be done first, and we can do it with smudge, with spray, anything like that, or with water, just running it through. People are like, oh, gathered rainwater or spring water. Sure, I love that kind of stuff, but you can cleanse stuff by running it under the tap and intending with your visualization that it takes anything out. Doesn't have to be all fancy. And then charging it up with energy so that it holds it. Crystals, jewelry, metals, any kind of tools like little crystal or metal wands that people use for healing, rattles, drums, anything like that that's used for healing work tends to be made out of stuff that really holds a charge. And when we're sending objects for healing to other people, we don't just want to cleanse and enhance them. We want to put in as much healing as possible, so that they can receive it. So the charging is very simple. It's just the flowing of that energy out through our hands into the object, and visualizing that it stays there. And again, at the end, we can return to focusing on the tanden and that 3 chopping method to really strongly seal it in. But the programming is about specificity of intention, right? What do you want that object to do? Now, we talked about giving it to clients or friends, family members, so that when they receive it, they can actually hold it and draw energy, receive healing from it yourself. So themselves rather. So then there's more questions. This is why I talk about being really specific. When are they going to receive that? Is it when they specifically ask for it? Is it something that they want to sit with and do a meditation, in which case you set that in your intention when you program? I don't like the word program. I don't like the modern words for spiritual things. So everyone's always getting a spiritual download these days. I want mystical language to replace it, but I can't think of a word that's better than programming, because that's effectively what we're doing. And so you can set it up to that they'll receive the healing when they pick it up or hold it. If it's an item of jewelry that they're going to wear, or that you're going to wear, right? You can program your own stuff. Are you receiving that energy and accessing that energy every time that you put it on? That might be the case. Or are you gonna set it up so that that energy can be absorbed at times of stress, or when a particular trigger event occurs? So if you've got somebody who's going through medical treatments, for example, you might set it up so that every time the anxiety that comes up for that, or whenever they step into that space, into the doctor's office, into the hospital, or whatever, that's when it releases. You can be really, really specific with it. And likewise, if it's something that you're not giving to a person, but something that you're putting in a space, so for your home, for a healing space, for example, I have healing crystals that I have within my healing room, and I have other crystals around in rooms that I teach in. So they're sort of dormant unless I'm in the room doing something. That's the trigger that I'm setting. When I set up my space, they kind of wake up. That's the intention in the charging. The other thing, another one that I wanted to say is, particularly for things like crystals, if you were to give it to somebody to put by their bed, on their bedside table, for example, you can set it up that then it will be released for them while they sleep. Things like that. So you can be very specific in the situation, but not necessarily the timing. You're not setting it up to be at, midnight. You're setting it up for when they're in that perfect place to receive it. But when we're looking at longer term things, like for example, some of the things here, Kat, you've brought a tool that you're going to use for stuff. Therefore, that charging, these things don't flow forever. You know, we're not linking it into an open thing. Like we actively bring through more Reiki when we're doing the work, even though we're permanently connected, and there are things we do to keep the energy strong with us. So for something that you're going to be using over and over again, recharging is an issue. So how often do we need to do that? If it's a tool that you're using for regular healing work, so I have crystals that I don't give away, I keep them here, and then I use them for specific work. So how often do I have to charge them up? It's after they've had a particular use is usually it, especially if I'm using them to pull stuff out of the body. But my ones that are just in my space here don't need to be done that often. So you get to, if you use a lot of this stuff, you get a feeling for when they need more work. Some people have very particular routines, particularly for things like jewelry and crystals, that they'll charge them at the new moon or the full moon or whatever, or on the first of the month. So you'll have routines for recharging if it's an ongoing thing. You can also have things that I use anchors for things. So one thing, actually, I'll say one other thing first. Sometimes I'll use a crystal to hold the healing, but the person that needs to access the healing, like the trigger is for them to ask for it, is someone that I'm not going to be able to give that crystal to. This does work. I will send a picture of the crystal and say, this is where the healing is, my friend. And this is where I'm holding it. You can ask for it, and then it will be released from that crystal. And then I keep that crystal on my healing altar until the work is finished. And then I can cleanse it. And then that crystal is safe to use for someone else's healing. So they don't necessarily have to have that object in order for it to work. You can, this has worked many times before, it does work. But when I say the other thing you can do is charge an anchor. So if you were to have, you probably wouldn't do this for a client. You might have a practice with students where you would gift them a particular type of crystal that might be, you might hold an anchor to that crystal, and it might be a period of ongoing work that you do. I do know people who do this. So they have a crystal on their Reiki altar. For each of their students, they give a crystal for them to take away as, or like a little little sigils, little gifts to take away once they've started on the path. And the crystal or the object that they have on their altar, they recharge that, and that recharges the sort of attached objects. Does that make sense? So I do this I have crystal grids that protect my home, and they're set up specifically for holding a clean energy and to protect my home. This is a multiple step process. This did take me a while. And so you have to, I know there's at least one person on this call that's done the same thing, because we've talked about it before. It takes a while to do it this way. So I have certain things that are buried that are buried out in you know, in the ground outside my home. And there's another layer within my home where these crystals are set. And for each of those, I cleansed those crystals, charged and programmed those crystals, and then sealed over those crystals. And then they were put into place. But before I did that, I had additional crystals, and this works with other objects too, that for each of the crystals that I was working with to be placed in a grid of protection, and these doesn't necessarily need to be around a permanent location, okay? You could have crystals that you have given to someone else to set up around a treatment bed or an altar, to enhance the energy of that while the work is going on. So those crystals might be moved around. But you can have, when you charge and program them, I had a smaller crystal that I bonded to each larger crystal. Does that make sense? So I would sort of intend, the programming of that was that it represented the larger crystal. And so I was able to charge them together. And then once I do that for every individual crystal, set them all up in their spaces. And then what I have is a small container that has the miniature crystals, almost like a mini version, a micro version of the macro grid. And so rather than going around my house to recharge and cleanse anything that might have got caught up in the crystals I have around in the larger grid, which is an unwieldy task, I work with the small version. But each of those crystals has been programmed to be connected to the larger crystals and therefore the larger grid. So they can be cleansed, they can be recharged, and everything that's deliberately programmed to be connected to that is also recharged. So you can get quite creative with it, if that all makes sense. I know that's like a multi-step program. Certainly they're not doing this in Japan, but you know, there's quite a bit that we can do with these things. We can set them up to release energies at particular times or in particular settings. We can connect them to sort of central objects that have a connection to the ones that you're giving out to other people or placing in other spaces, and you can recharge those. So for continual work with an object, you will need to recharge them. It doesn't work forever. And if that's not practical to lay your hands on them again, you can do it in these other ways. It also doesn't have to be a physical object of that nature. Somebody said they were bringing a candle. I can't remember who it was. It might be someone who's going to be watching. I see you, Nan. So the obvious intention to put into that is that that energy then gets released into the space, or to become like an active prayer of intention when you light the candle. And then when you blow it out, the remainder of that energy is stored within the candle. And then next time you light it, it picks up the prayer again. You can just light a candle and let it burn by itself. I think there's a lot to be said for sitting and being present with the object as well, for like active prayer. But of course, you've charged it up, so there's already energy that's being released, even if you just let it burn safely in a fireproof container. Safety first, guys. Also things like I like to make my own incenses, and I like to make oil blends. This will work for you as well, Nan. You make a lot of blends of like plant essences and things, right? To put the energy in there, my intention when I program those things is that I'm returning to that prayer of intention. The energy is being released every time I use that oil. I don't think I didn't bring one. There isn't one in this room, but I have little oil bottles that have like a little roller ball on them. So I charge them up and program them, and then with the roller ball, extra Reiki, drawing symbols or just placing it on the skin. My intention is that that healing is released every time I do that. And because that's the intention, I've charged everything in the whole bottle. I don't tend to recharge the bottle very often, because the intention is every time I use it, that's when it's released. And the rest of the time it's sealed within it. This chopping energy helps us to do that. We are going to work with the chopping energy today, but there are other ways to do it that I just want to cover in case you don't like the Japanese method. I like it particularly because of the focus on the tanden, but there's other ways to do it. You can visualize, you know, a web forming around it. You can even take, sometimes I use thread and intend that I'm sealing it up, and I'm physically knotting and sealing the intention in. So if it's a piece of jewelry, it's harder to do that, but you can do it by, you know, putting a little bit of oil on it or passing it through incense stuff. We're getting way away from Reiki now, but all of those things are valid. And if you don't like and feel the chopping method that we use today, there's other ways to do it where you can seal that energy in. It's all about intention. It's about what allows you to say, you know, this is done. This is happening now. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to cover on all of the things that we can do it on. Timings, purpose, anchors, and all the different things we might be able to use. Hit me with your questions, my friends. Are there any other types of things that you are wondering about charging? Anything like that? I should say that in the Japanese method, they specifically say we do not do this chopping method to seal energy into a person. They're very clear. You must do this for an inanimate object only. Now, obviously, sometimes those of you that do cutting away of cords or whatever, sometimes we are chopping, but not in this way. Here's the things they say. We use these. Do not practice this on humans, animals, or plants. That's what they say in Japan. I'm just putting that out there. A plant is not an inanimate object, but a plant essence that you're going to use for something is really, because it's not growing anymore, you know. They do say here, inanimate objects such as crystals, stones, jewelry, furniture, houses, etc. Furniture's a good one. What about your healing chairs? What about your treatment beds? And houses, obviously this over your whole house, a little bit impossible, but if you've got a mini version of your protection grid that you've put around your house of crystals, then, you know, that works. Any questions? Any sharings? Any wonderings? Excellent.
I'm going to say I love the idea, because it's a bit like quantum entanglement, isn't it? I think that's, yeah, that's kind of how I think of that.
Yeah, yeah, I think of that too. And I used to have a person who taught magical practice that I used to work with, who said, you know, that he's like, yeah, it's physics and it's sympathetic magic. It's you take a thing that represents another thing, you affect that thing, and they've been created together. That's the idea of entanglement, right? If two particles are created at the same time, whatever impacts one will impact the other no matter how far away it is, and that's exactly what it is. I'm very into physics right now, Liz. I've been doing some like meditation on stars, so I've been learning how stars operate. I've been watching a lot of physics documentaries and reading some weird courses. So I appreciate your nerdiness on that one. Jennifer saying, I was thinking it'd be cool to charge my piano. Yes, with the intention that every time you play it, you release Reiki out into everybody who's listening, including yourself, because then you've got the Reiki already in there. It's like, I mean, obviously you can also channel Reiki through yourself while you're playing, right? And then it really technically does count as sound healing. But yeah, I think charging it up first so you can just focus on the playing, and it will just, or even set it up. Don't forget, we can do furniture, do the piano stool, right? And set it up so that every time you sit down to play the piano, you are filled with the perfect creative energy. Yeah, that's great. I love that. I do know someone who used to you send Reiki while playing her harp. Come on, man, it's perfect. It's such a perfect instrument to be having these like beautiful things. You can do this for a guitar and a drum set too, but you know, things like pianos and harps, I mean, this is proper angelic music, isn't it? To be channeling it. And yeah, let me know how these things go as well. Now we're going to do the practical working, unless anyone has any other questions before we start. I know I've gone way off piece by talking about crystal grids for your house, but seriously, let's use this stuff for everything we can possibly use it for. All ready to go? Grab your implements, grab your weapons. And we have got, remember, we are going to be we're going to be starting in Gasho. we're going to do a little bit of focus on the cleansing. And then we're going to do the chopping to kind of clear everything away. Remember that chopping technique, it's about getting rid of what's bad or negative to enhance it. Then we're going to go into the charging. So then we're going to really focus our intention on that. I'm going to talk you guys through a tiny bit of frequency setting. Don't worry if you're not familiar with that term. It's really simple the way we're going to do it today. So that we can charge it with exactly the energy that you need. And I will be bringing up everything that we need to remember in terms of specificity as well. Then we're going to sit and we are going to charge those objects together. And we are going to do that until I tell us to stop, and then we will focus on the tanden again, restate our intentions, and we'll do those 3 chops over the top of that item with the dominant hand again to seal that in, and then the work will be complete. Okay, so taking your item, your jewelry, your wand, your drum, your piano. By the way, if what you're working on is too big to hold in one hand, you can just place your hands on it and work that way. And then when it's time to do the chopping, raise up the dominant hand to chop over it. Okay, so for big singing bowls, pianos, furniture items, etc., that's how we do that. So take a hold or place your hands on, if it's too large, your item with your non-dominant hand. Done it again. I've stepped away from the gasho. Discipline, discipline. Place your item down. We are live. Come first into gasho. Here we are. Hands in prayer position. Set our intention that we are going to be working to cleanse and enhance the items that we're working with. And then we're going to charge them after that with our perfect healing intent, which we will restate as we work. And intend that this is for your highest good. Focus your attention on your tanden and feel that connection with the Reiki source, bringing the item that you're working with so that you're holding it or placing your hands on it if it's too large. And first and foremost, we are going to cleanse that item. So hover your hands just a few centimeters over the item. Just hover your hand there. And we are cleansing this of anything that stands in the way of the work and enhancing the natural energies within this item. Focus your attention on your tanden and chop 3 times with your hand over the item. And you should be able to feel that that energy is already slightly changed just by that simple act. Now, still holding on to your item, we're going to come into the setting of a much stronger, much more specific intention. What do you want to achieve through the healing of this? Is it to receive healing? Is it to feel a sensation of peace? A sensation of confidence? Of energy that you need in order to get something done. Or the intention forward. You know what you need. Trust to your wording. It could simply be highest good healing. It could be clarity of thought. It could be confidence, energy, release. It could be support during a very specific time. Still focusing on the object and on your tanden, allow that healing intention to take strong hold in your mind. And as you sit here in this quiet moment of focus, how do you want to receive this healing? Is it when you use the item? Is it while you sleep with it by your bedside? Is it when you walk into a certain space? When you light the candle, play the instrument, or simply any time you wear it or hold it? You get to decide. And as you now allow the energy healing to begin to flow through your hands into the object, ask for the perfect frequency of Reiki healing to flow through you to achieve that goal. Whatever healing you need for this highest good intention, no need to worry about any symbols or any particular part of the Reiki flow. Just allow the energy to flow through, asking for the perfect healing frequency for your intention. Let that energy flow through you. You're connected to the Reiki source above and working from the tanden. Allow the perfect frequency of Reiki healing energy energy for your healing goal. Allow it to flow through you into your object. The strength of that healing flow is enhanced by the fact that we are all here together within this circle. That is amplified by the Reiki drumming. And by the natural qualities flows into the object, know that it will remain within it until the conditions are met that you are programming for it to be released. With all your intentions set, you can now just relax into the perfect Reiki flow. gone beyond cleansing and enhancing an object and into charging and programming. Know that you've been given the perfect frequency of Reiki energy to achieve your healing outcome. And remember your intention for how you receive that energy. The conditions under which the healing will be released from the object and become an active healing tool. From above through your crown and through your hands to slow and then stop. And focus your attention again on your tanden. Placing one hand, your dominant hand, over the item. Before we do the chopping, just setting an intention that this time we're chopping away any excess energy, any extraneous lack of focus, and we are sealing in that delicious energy you've just raised. So holding that in your mind as your intention, we're sealing the energy in, cutting away only what's needed, chopping over the object 3 times. And this closes the practice and seals the energy in with that slight shift in intention this time. Knowing that it's sealed, placing the energy and the energy-filled object just to one side, coming back into prayer position, giving thanks, and that is the process complete. Breathing yourself back into the space and coming back into the Zoom room. So you should be able to feel there that in the first act of focus, we're cleansing and we are chopping away, which is the original intention of that movement and that intention. But it also comes with that sealing the energy in was part of that flow. It was intended to be the sort of enhancing the natural qualities, crystals, metal, drums, all of those things. They have a natural energy that you're enhancing by doing that. When we change our intention to then move into a more Western idea of charging and programming and setting that intention, we can come back to this chopping, but we slightly move our intention. So we're chopping away anything excess, anything that doesn't need to be needed, but we're still sealing it in. And like everything in Reiki, it's all about your intention, about what you're putting in there. So we can seal off in the same way and it still do something slightly different because of our intention. And now it's full up of energy. We did about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, I think, there, something like that. it doesn't take very long to charge an object, actually. You don't need to do a full hour, although you can, and you might want to do that for something very, very severe that you're working on, for example. And of course, if it's a reusable thing, you do clock up the hours of recharging as time goes by. But just that little bit of real focus really changes the energy of the object. How was that for everyone? Does anyone have any sharings?
It was beautiful. I did feel after we did the first like 3 chops, the energy changed from what I was feeling. I mean, it was a complete different feeling.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting to notice that difference, and then how it feels now after we sealed it. That was a lot of energy like being moved through into it.
Yeah. And what was your intention out of interest, Kat? Well, not necessarily your healing intention, which you're welcome
Yeah.
to share if you want to, but obviously that's private. You don't have to. But in terms of how it gets accessed and released later.
So the intention was both for me, like when I do my own journeys, and if I'm doing healing drumming for somebody else, that when I beat the first beat, that every time I'm beating that drum, it is sending out the healing energy. Not only because when I drum, like when I do that work, I do Reiki through me and through the drum. But with this one, I was like, I really want to infuse it so that if I'm not in a space to be channeling, that if it's for me, that I can beat and have that healing. Because sometimes we don't always have, depending on where we are, what we're doing, being the one to hold that.
Yeah.
So I just felt that was both ways. So we'll see. It definitely feels different.
Yeah, and you can feel, I'm really glad you noticed that it felt different after the initial drop. So you can see what it was intended for, just that simple cleansing and enhancing. So the object's clean and, just that tiny thing that takes like 30 seconds.
Yeah, there was like a huge difference in
I think it's massive. I think it's a really good cleansing technique. And I love smudging and sometimes I do multiple and all of those things, but there's something to that really it's like this is cleansed. And it really does make a difference just to do that, which is why I wanted to do both.
Yeah, because that drum had come with me to Serpent Mound, so there was like a lot of energy in one evening where I was drumming with other people. So there was a good like, okay, then I need to make sure that I'm cleansing that in between uses, especially if there's other people.
Yeah, and it's nice. Every drum beat, that's a nice thing because it could have been when I place my hand on it and say I'm going to begin, it could be that, but like you're keeping it going for all of it. And you'd be unlikely to be drumming without channeling energy for someone else. But for yourself, when you just need a bit of a recharge, that you've already put it in there, you can do it without channeling, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Kat.
Liz, I was wondering if anyone would mind if I ask a question that is kind of personal to me, but might be relevant to people later. Please. So my mother's just died, and I was going to take her wedding ring. And in a way, I don't want to cleanse it of her. I kind of want to remember her with it or be connected to her. So I'm just wondering how you would use that. And this might be relevant to other people if they inherit a piece of something from someone else, or they're wearing something in memory or to connect with someone else. So I wouldn't exactly want to kind of cleanse it, as it were, of her. But what would I do with something like that, to carry her on my finger, as it were?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, because I think a lot of people will want that, and it's relevant for for the exact thing that you're saying, that's something that has been gifted to you or inherited by someone. You want to keep a bit of them, but maybe not anything anything that's difficult. Sometimes people want to keep only part of a thing. Obviously for your mum, you're saying you want to carry that part of her with you, but what if you were cleansing a ring that used to represent one thing, that you might want to represent another? Now you might want to keep the bond that you used to have with the person who gave it for you in terms of the positive memory, but you want to be able to be free to move on and have another bond, for example. Or if you were even as simple as to have an item that you have already charged with a particular, so this crystal is from a very specific ceremony many years ago. And so when I cleanse it, I'm not taking away the energy from that ceremony, but anything else that might have been picked up just by it being out in a space, that I would cleanse off. So there's all sorts of ways where this is a really relevant question. It's not just for that precise thing that you're asking. There's loads of reasons why you might want to keep some things and cleanse others. So it's all in your intention and it's in the wording. So for your particular instance, you would take that ring and hold it and say, you know, the name of the person that you are, say that you want to honor the memory and carry the love that that person has for you, that you have for them, whatever you want the wording to be. I would plan it first because it needs to be quite precise, but that you are cleansing it of any difficult energy that it might have picked up along the way, particularly if you're taking something from someone who was maybe sick who was wearing it, or perhaps it was you know, a wedding ring for a wedding that for a marriage that then didn't exist by the end of it. There are certain associations that you might want to go off. So specifically say, this ring, this is the enhance part of the equation. This ring represents the love between me and my mother, the memory and honor that I have of her. I want to enhance that in this object, and I cleanse any extraneous energy or negative feelings that it may have picked up along the way. So it's just that pure essence of that love. And then into your tanzen, and with that intention, chop away. And so anything that might have been picked up by being transported, or for grief that you might have, or any of that, we don't want that association necessarily in there, that will be chopped away. But the love that you have and that connection and the essence held within that object is enhanced. So that Japanese technique is to cleanse and to enhance. So it's all in your statement. It's a really good question. Thank you, Liz. And good to bear it in mind for things, you know, that you've used before and want to cleanse but keep the initial charging, for example. Yeah, great question. Thank you so much, Liz. Any other questions or sharings before we sign off today? I do want to know what happens, Jennifer, when you charge your piano stool.
I will let you know. I started with the crystal that I've been planning on, but I'm totally going to do that.
I love it. I've got this image of you like sitting down to play and be like, whoa!
The interesting thing is I teach piano too, so I'm kind of wondering how it would affect my students as well. You know? Yeah.
And for that to be part of the intention, that they're able to be focused, or they're able to be relaxed, or the nervousness is gone, or, you know, you can be really precise in what you say and then allow the energy to flow through.
Actually, can I just ask one other thing? So if you've got something very large and you think you'd like to carry it with you, a small one, I like that idea. I've got a little one that I could take on away. How do you just kind of say with an intention, hold it and say, I'm kind of connecting this one to the other one? Is that another whole lesson? I know it's
no, I mean, you could do a whole lesson
summary version.
But yeah, the summary version, it really is that simple. We like to think that it's you'd have to sign up to a workshop for me to teach you that. No, it's not true. It's that simple. It's all about your intention. Hold the larger one, or have the larger one in front of you, and place the smaller one on top of it. That's the way I do it. I just made that up though, like I'm sure there's other ways. And then like charge them. And my intention, my programming for the smaller one is that they're connected. As you say, I'm beginning my quantum entanglement in that moment. And then, yeah, if I have a thing where I want to charge one to charge the other, I would usually put that in to my intention that this is my channel into recharging the larger one or the smaller one, whatever it is.
Thank you for that executive summary. Brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, my darlings, thank you so much for being at the first one back after the summer break. It's really lovely to see you guys. I haven't seen some of you for ages, so it's been really sweet. And thanks for everyone. Thanks for all your brilliant sharings and your great questions. And thanks to everyone who's watching the recording. Sending you all lots of love. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.